about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey, I was going to say, in order to help you in your own. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So have you ever felt as an asexual person that there are things about you that's just a little bit different? And maybe it doesn't fit the conventional picture of an asexual, whatever that means. So asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on the lack of sexual attraction. Lack can have two meanings. It means you can lack any sexual attraction whatsoever, or lack can mean not have enough of something, as in not have enough of the usual sexual attraction to be classed as a heterosexual, for example, bisexual, pansexual, asexual person, right? So if you want to think of A in front of the sexual together as absence of sexual attraction, you would be on the right path. So there's a lot of myths and stereotypes about what asexuality is and what asexuality isn't. A lot of asexuals are sex repulsed, but there's a number of asexuals also that do have sex, because a lack of sexual attraction is not a lack of sexual action. Just because someone might have sex doesn't mean to say they can't be asexual, because it's the lack of sexual attraction that determines where a person is asexual or not asexual. Asexuality is a spectrum ranging from those pure asexuals who don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever to the grey asexuals who may experience sexual attraction under limited, rare or specific circumstances, or they experience it but not enough to want to act on it. Also, someone who's like in between asexual and grey asexual would find it hard to know where they fit in. But basically you can get something called ace flux, where you can fluctuate between being like totally asexual and grey asexual. And, you know, you can fluctuate up and down the asexual spectrum, if you like. So, and some people can fluctuate between the asexual spectrum and the sexual spectrum. So really you'd still be classed as a grey asexual if your sexual attraction is not a permanent regular thing. So can asexuals be sexy is the big question. So yeah, asexuals can be sexy. Just because you're asexual doesn't mean to say you're not sexy or sexually attractive to other people. So while you may not experience sexual attraction, you can have people who are sexually attracted to you, who actually are like finding you sexually attractive, finding you sexy, finding you hot. And sexy can be a number of things. Like, first of all, we need to dispel the myth, should I say? Dispel, it sounds like a very strange word. I make up words on this channel sometimes, I just let you know for fun, right? And so you can be sexy and be asexual, because you can't stop someone else finding you sexy, finding you hot, and finding you attractive. But like I said, sexiness doesn't necessarily mean it's just related to sex. Someone with a high IQ, for example, could be very sexy. Someone who is authentic could be very sexy. Someone who wears certain types of clothing could be very sexy. Someone who has certain mannerisms could be very, very sexy. Someone who's hugely confident could be very, very sexy. Someone who's charismatic could be very, very sexy. So this applies obviously to any sexual orientation. Any sexual orientation can be sexy, but because asexuals predominantly are known for lacking sexual attraction and not wanting sex, the majority of asexuals, not all asexuals, then you wouldn't usually think that that type of person would be sexy. But like I said, sexiness is what other people think about you. It's not necessarily what you think about yourself. However, it is fine if you do think you're sexy, if you find yourself attractive, if you find yourself hot and sexy, if you are confident in that way, then that is perfectly fine. Some people think that as an asexual person, you can't feel that you're sexy. Even though I'm asexual, I do like the fact that I'm sexy. Even, obviously I'm not sexy to everyone, but that doesn't matter. I'm sexy to myself, and obviously some guys find me sexy. And I like owning that, because I think the most important thing you can do for yourself in life is to be very self-aware and to literally admit what you are and how you feel about yourself on a daily basis. To deny yourself the privilege of being in tune with who you are, your body, and the way you see yourself, regardless of what the stereotypical version of sexy is a very powerful thing, right? I know I'm not a skinny girl, but I like the voluptuous figure for me personally. And, I personally feel that women in general look better when they're not skinny with their ribs showing. That's a personal thing. I'm not attracted to women, but when I see people and they're trying to lose weight and they go from being like, I think, okay, to just, to all of a sudden being skinny and showing their ribs, to me, that's not very attractive. I don't call that healthy, right? And so some guys will find stick thin girls attractive. Others will find voluptuous, big boobed, big butted women hot and sexy, right? Because everyone's looking for a different thing. So as an asexual person, I want you to focus on how you feel. If you feel that people calling you sexy is a off-putting thing, then of course don't be around those type of people. You can't stop someone finding you sexy, but you can, not participate in that type of thing. If you feel that the word is just something you don't relate to, something you don't like, and you're not interested in it, then that's fine, but if you are someone who is asexual and you are sexy and you want to own that, that's fine. Just because you're sexy doesn't mean to say you have sex, right? I'm not interested in sex. I'm sex repulsed asexual for me these days, right? I don't have sex. I'm not interested in it. But I can still like being sexy. I can still be in I wouldn't say I've got sexual energy, although some guys think I've got a lot of sexual energy. I would just say I'm happy feeling sexy because I'm happy in my own body. I'm happy feeling like sexiness about myself, even though I don't want sex, right? And, there are times when I miss being in a nightclub with young, hot foreign guys and snogging them and feeling my body close to theirs. But I don't want sex with them and I don't like their hands all over my body. I just like them kissing my lips, right? But there are times, because there's this myth that asexuals, don't want any physical contact. Well, some asexuals don't. That's completely correct. They don't like physical contact. They're touch averse. And other asexuals just like touching, like as in holding hands or even just cuddling, hugging, that type of thing. And other asexuals want more. So I think it's really important to dispel I keep saying dispel the myths and stereotypes that asexuals can't do this, that, and the other. I think it's more important to lean into your own sexuality, lean into your own energy, lean into your own self. And if you think that and feel that other people find you sexy is something you're not repulsed by as an asexual, but it shocks you because you're like thinking, why aren't I repulsed by that? Then I want you to lean into that and be okay with it, right? Every asexual person's different. I know a number of asexuals who absolutely hate other people find them attractive and sexy. But I once said to someone who is not asexual actually, but I once said to someone that you can't stop someone else being attracted to you. You can't, right? You can't choose who is attracted to you, right? So if someone else finds you sexy, you can't stop them finding you sexy or hot or attractive or liking you. All you can do is know your own mind, know your own body, and be comfortable with whatever you find is good about yourself. So, Johnny, I'm attracted to you right now. Oh, thank you. Hi, Heather. Lots of love. Heather's a long-standing member of this channel. I appreciate you. So I think it's really important to just own who you are. Like, I do like being sexy. I find it energizing. I don't like guys' sexual energy overpowering me. I have to make that clear. So it's kind of a fine balance between I like being sexy, but I'm not interested in a guy having sex with me. So if his sexual energy is too overwhelming for me, then that's quite hard to cope with. But I have been in relationships predominantly, well, I haven't actually had an actual proper relationship with an asexual. There was a guy I was in a relationship with who's online, but I don't actually think he was asexual in the end. So as far as I'm concerned, I haven't been in a relationship with an asexual. If I have, it's not a proper relationship, So that's why I say like my relationships have actually been with heterosexuals. So I find that because I've got strong boundaries with where I can and can't allow them to touch now, because I'm not comfortable with certain places, that I find that's much more empowering because I feel safe around heterosexuals when I know, like, I'm like, don't touch me here, don't touch me there, that type of thing. But I do still feel that sometimes a heterosexual would be better suited to me because of all the kissing I like, because of all the physical affection I like. So despite being asexual, I do like a lot of physical affection, but I don't like hands-on, like all over my body and stuff like that. And I don't like being naked with a guy either. So there is some part of me that does really miss being in nightclubs and being really close to a guy physically and like kissing him. Do you know what I mean? In my book, Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, I talk about all this type of stuff, by the way. So go and grab a copy of that if you haven't already got one. In here, you'll find a lot of controversial stuff that asexuals would probably never talk about, right? But it's the truth. So my truth, that's my own autobiographical book. This has got like 5-star reviews, all 5-star reviews. So, and it's a lot about psychology in here of relationships. So if you're looking for relationships, dating, or just to better your relationships and to understand yourself better and how to get your needs met, get a copy of this. It's on Amazon, Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual. It's got 78 life lessons to ace your life. And there's some very controversial confessions in here that you wouldn't think would come out of the mouth of an asexual person. But I think it's important to own, oh, my nose is itching. It's important to own your sexuality, and it's important to own all aspects of who you are in order to understand yourself better. So if I think I'm sexy personally because I like that, and if loads of guys find me sexy, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, some women find me sexy. I'm not interested in women, but it's it's a nice compliment, I guess. Even gay guys, some gay guys find me sexy. I'm like, I don't really understand that when they're meant to be attracted to guys. But anyway, this is what happens with me. So it seems I'm universally attractive, and I think that's a really nice thing. I think it's a very complimentary thing. Just because I'm not as sexually attracted back to them doesn't mean to say I can't enjoy being on the receiving end of being a sexy person. Do you see what I mean? And I was only thinking earlier, how I do miss, like I said, going to nightclubs, kissing young, hot foreign guys, having my body close to theirs sometimes. I do. Because I was having a lot more energy then. I was in my element. I was being myself. I was living my best asexual cougar life, if you know what I mean. And I was just really, really in the moment. Like, when you have that nice passion and it's like something from a love scene. That's really good. I mean, these guys aren't really healthy to be in a relationship with. That's the problem. So if you're looking for something serious with someone, sadly, a lot of these people at nightclubs are just not good for that. That's the problem. So it's important that you understand that. That's the only difference. It's very difficult sometimes because the way these people act in nightclubs are not necessarily a reflection of what's going to happen outside the nightclub. They're not necessarily even going to be hot looking after that. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important. I mean, I, for example, saw the guy in, the guy who kissed me in Oxford nightclub. I saw him on social media. Like, when I saw him, he's really good looking, right? He had clean shaven face, really nice hair. But then I've since seen him on social media. He's like got like a beard and stuff, stubbled. And I'm like, really, really not into him. But I feel like as an asexual person, I'm very in my own energy. I'm very in my own asexual energy. I'm okay being called sexy. I don't hold anything back. Like, I'm all right sitting on a guy's lap in between his legs, for example. I don't have any problem with that. And there's a lot of people that would say, oh, why are you asexual if you like that? Because I'm not interested in, I'm not interested in having sex with him. I'm not looking at him thinking I want sex with him. I'm just looking at him thinking I like the closeness, the physical closeness. And I like a teenager style relationship, and you're just sitting on each other's laps, chilling, having that closeness, but without actually having the sexual intercourse, if that makes sense, and doing like sexual acts. So, you could argue that if your body's pressed against the other person and, that's really close like that, you could argue that is sexual. But I am okay with that in some instances. Not him touching me all over, but I'm okay with that in some instances. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I feel that I own my sexuality, I own my asexuality, but I also own parts of me that are sexy and parts of me that like passion, parts of me that love being in my hyper romantic nature, and parts of me that love, my hyper kissing and passionately kissing. Do you know what I mean? Of course, I have to say it's much better passionately kissing a guy who's in a long-term committed relationship with you and really is, like into you that way, and you feel a lot nice and safe and secure. I do think that's a much better way of doing it. But I think that for asexuals who are not having a serious, committed, continuous relationship and haven't got that in their life, that they can actually feel like they're missing that. For a lot of asexuals, they miss like the cuddling. They miss like someone just holding them close and just being there for them. But this isn't just for asexuals. A lot of people from any sexual orientation have difficulties when they split up with someone, for example. They miss the connection, the physical connection. Sometimes they just miss their hand being held while they're talking if they're going through a bad day. Sometimes they just miss the hugs, and being in the person's arms. I mean, this isn't just related to asexuality, it's related to a lot of, sexual orientations, all sexual orientations really. But for asexuals, it's kind of seen a bit as taboo if you're a sexy asexual and someone who leans into your sexiness, someone who likes maybe having some contact that may even be seen as sexual, right? And I think it's important that you stay grounded in your own reality and not what other people want you to be like, not what other people are trying to make you be like, I know that the guys who are at nightclubs really aren't good for me in terms of relationship. And, I haven't been clubbing for ages, but I do miss having that passionate kissing. I come alive like that because I'm interested in younger guys. I'm an extrovert. I like dancing. I like being alive in that way. I like experiencing the passion. I like experiencing the physical closeness of a guy I'm really highly aesthetically attracted to, When I say guy's hot, I mean he's aesthetically hot, his clothes are hot, his eyes are hot, his face is hot, usually his face, like this area, not below the waist, And so for me, I think it's important that I understand myself. I understand how I do love passion, how I do miss being physically close to a guy sometimes, even pressed against his body sometimes, maybe, in certain circumstances. But that's very personal, it's very controversial, but I think it's important, like I said, to lean into every aspect of who you are and to own your own sexuality and all that encompasses. I feel that when we repress and suppress any part of our sexuality, then that's when the danger is, because then we're trying to be something we're not usually in order to please other people. And then that just doesn't make sense, because then it's like, well, who are we living for? Are we living for ourselves or are we living for other people? So I want you to know that if you are an asexual who is feeling sexy and is feeling attractive, that's okay. I don't want you to feel ashamed of enjoying feeling sexy, even if you're an asexual person. I want you to feel comfortable and confident in yourself, and that it's okay to feel how you feel. But I understand how you feel. And yes, some asexuals can be sexy, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're interested in this type of asexy talk, then, and you want to lean more into your asexiness, then don't forget to pick up a copy of Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Asexual Life on Amazon, and you should be able to order it from all good bookshops. And if you're new to asexuality, don't really know much about it, grab a copy of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories. These are both best-selling books, so get them from Amazon now. And I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Stay ace and don't forget to subscribe.